microphone checker, microphone checker, microphone checker, microphone checker, microphone checker, microphone checker.
Hello, grace and peace. What's good, everybody? This is the P to the L to the A to the Y, better known as Play from Kid and Play, and you're checking out Mic Check Media. Miss it? And blame yourself.
What up, everybody? This is your man K Boogie, Mic Check Media. We rolling right along with the Pioneers of Hip Hop series, Diary of an MC. We got the legendary Play from Kid and Play on the line. What's good with you, brother?
I'm great, and you, and hello to all your listeners out there. But I'm good. Thank you for asking. I'm uncomfortable with that whole Legends title. I think I still got a way to go, but, from your lips to God's ears.
Hey, no doubt. Well, in my humble opinion, you consider to be a legend. You're definitely a pioneer, and it's great to be able to talk to somebody I consider to be one of my heroes from hip hop. So my hats off to you.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you.
No doubt. So now with the Pioneers of Hip Hop series, what we do, we're just trying to pay homage to the pioneers like yourself, and also educate the ones who might be coming along who might not know about legendary brothers like yourself, or groups Kid and Play. So basically, getting started, we definitely want to get a brief history of Kid and Play and how you got into the realm of hip-hop.
Well, I think it all boils down to that cliche, which is very true. Sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. And this is definitely, I believe, an incredible example of that. Me being kind of confused and really didn't know what I wanted to do, and was definitely heading down the wrong path in the streets of New York. My heroes was like your Fat Cats and Pappy Masons and Alpos and all of those people that were once, shown a lot if you watch the Bio channel with the Gangster series, or either the series that used to have on BET for a minute. But all of those people were people I'd been under the same roof with and had, either a 6 degree of separation relationship with them, or actually knew them, or had a chance to rub elbows, so to speak. So those were my heroes that I wanted to be like. But at the same time, what was taking place on another part of my life was this evolution, this birth and growth of hip-hop that was the place to be, literally. I mean, I couldn't think of a greater phrase. It used to be with the culture in the early days, in the place to be. So with that, I guess people took a liking to my presence in the culture as far as a rapper. Even prior to that, I did do some breakdancing for a minute, but it was the way to get the attention of the girls, the young ladies at the party. And one thing led to another, and as I continued to just, live life day by day, a lot of close calls in regards to situations where I could have not been on this phone call, very much in prison for the rest of my life or dead. God, as I profess to, used hip-hop to save my life. And what was going on was simultaneously was a friend of mine by the name of Herbie Lovebug, who was doing his thing in a trade school where one of his assignments was to do something inventive with media. And he decided to do something, create a rap record out of his attic. And that first rap record was with who we know now as Salt and Pepper. They were called Supernature at the time. And they did a reply to Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick's hit record, The Show. And theirs was called The Showstopper. Fast forward again, Kid and I, coming together, decided to do our thing, which was called Fresh Force. And to make a long story short, again, Herbie, we're already close friends, was impressed with what we were trying to do. He was getting maybe a little bored with Salt and Pepper, wanted to do something new. A lot of record companies was coming at him, wanting to know what was next out of his attic. It was Kid and Play. And we changed our name from Fresh Force to Kid and Play. And, here we are today. So it's really about, again, sometimes not what you know, who you know. And there's a very good friend and reverend and pastor friend of mine, Dr. A.R. Bernard out of Brooklyn, New York, says from Christian Cultural Center, it's like, things are built on relationships, So that's how that came about. I mean, I can get into more details, but for the sake of time and the respected time, I just gave you guys the edited version. But a lot of interesting things took place In Between, great things, a lot of 6 Degrees of Separations with a lot of well-known artists we know today, a lot of backstories, all of that great stuff, you know.
Wow, man, it's a great to, learn some of the early beginnings, the early roots, should I say, to, the beginnings of Kid and Play. And definitely you guys have a great chemistry. And that's one of the things that...
Yeah, how that came about was... I'm sorry, I thought you were done. We had a long pause there. But how it came about was, Kid and I, we literally pretty much grew up with each other. We literally, and I mean literally, lived around the corner from each other. So we ended up putting in the kind of time with the friendship and others that are part of the Kid and Play fray, where we got to the point where, still to this day, Kid knows how I think. I know how Kid thinks. Kid can finish a sentence if I stop mid-sentence. I can finish his sentence if he stops mid-sentence. So I think what a lot of people gathered from our relationship and what resonated was the fact that this wasn't a relationship that was put together by a casting call. We were, are great friends, where sometimes you see them put duos together that they think will have good chemistry, and sometimes they hit it, and a lot of times they don't. So, Kid and I's thing is real. It's really organic. It really comes from a, right now it's got to be like 30-year-plus relationship,
Wow, and we got a chance to see, myself and Carol and I got a chance to see you guys perform here in Atlanta a few years ago, and you guys hadn't missed a beat, man. And the moves, the dance moves that I myself, my brother tried to emulate, didn't go off too well. But you guys, still got that great, hadn't missed a beat, man. And that's one of the things that we love about you guys.
Thank you. Well, special effects help a lot too. If you got that in the budget, you can get away with a lot. But yeah, we were fortunate enough again to go back to the 6 Degrees of Separation, and I really don't like putting the word separation in there. We come from an era of hip hop where dance was so important. One of our music videos and records I'm so proud of that we had opportunity to do was a track called Getting Funky, and that video was shot in Harlem, New York. And it was very important to us to send out the call to all our friends and all the well-known dancers of that time to join us. And we wanted to just show them, we do this kick-step thing, but look at this whole community we come from. And that whole video was pretty much dedicated to all the different dance crews that would meet on the regular, on the weekends, whatever club was popping at the time, from the Whirl to the Latin Quarter, wherever, USA Roller Skating Ring in Queens, the Rink. This is where everybody met on the regular, and it was about dancing. It was about, having a good time, and it was a competitive thing, but it wasn't to the point where it was insulting or anything where we were degrading each other, and it was all a mutual respect. And that's one of the documentaries I'll be working on at the end of this year, is a documentary called And I Dance, where I'm able to get together with a lot of these dancers who went on to do big things and living great lives now, to talk about that era, because I don't think they get the credit that they deserve. But a lot of them who used to dance for us went on to dance for Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, Jennifer Lopez. The list goes on. So, that's what that's all about for us, at the time and still today.
Wow, and that's great, because you guys definitely did pave the way. And you mentioned my favorite joint of all time from you guys, and that was Getting Funky, man, because the video itself, it was a great video. I was probably maybe 9th, 10th grade, and, just waiting to get home from school, man, and see that on Your MTV Raps, and just, try to emulate, what you guys are doing, because, at that time, like you said, it was, all of the elements were included in hip-hop, and dance was huge. Yeah, Big Daddy Kane with Scoob and Scrap Lover, and and that was just one of the things that, you had to see, were the dance moves.
Yeah, it was mandatory. You had Big Daddy Kane with my brothers Scoob and Scrap. You had MC Lyte with Leg 1 and Leg 2, Queen Latifah with her dancers, and us with we had various dancers who've come through, but one of the earlier ones, like with Shake Your Thing with Salt and Pepper, and even Kid and Play with Do This My Way. There was a group called BAD, Body Action Dancers. That was the acronym. And, they would dance with Salt and Pepper from time to time as well. So it was a lot of love. I'm leaving out so many, even the dancers who danced behind Belle Biv DeVoe. I had an excellent interview with them that's going to be in the documentary. They're called Straight Ahead. But it was mandatory. You had to hold your own on the microphone. That was a given. You couldn't hide behind your dancers or hide behind the eye candy. But you wanted to give the people their money's worth. You wanted to give them the show. Of course, Hammer took it to the umpteenth degree on steroids, and all of that. But we weren't interested in investing that many buses for that many dancers. But that's what it was. That's what it was about. You know what I'm saying? We really wanted to give the people a show and outdo each other in a very positive, competitive way,
Right. Wow. And and that just shows, the evolution of Kid and Play, because not only did you go from, the hip-hop music, you guys went right into making movies, and, it just goes on and on. Now, House Party. Was that you guys' original concept, or how do we get into House Party?
What happened was the music videos was a blessing. We had a lot of visual appeal, and, for some reason, thank you, Jesus, that, it stood out. It stood out so much to the point where two brothers out of Detroit by the name of Reggie and Warrington Hudlin, who were the writers and co-directors of House Party, we would always run into them at social events in New York, parties and, things like that. And they approached us to tell us they were working on a movie and a script. But we would hear that kind of like all day. So it was like, yeah, whatever. We wasn't rude. We were manifold and courteous and stuff. But I really didn't take it that much serious. But every time we'd run into them at a party, they'd give us updates on meetings they were having and how well things coming along and all of that. And finally one day it was time for us to, they asked would we come and be part of a pitch meeting for New Line Cinema. And at that time, New Line Cinema was known for their hit movies such as Nightmare on Elm Street, Ninja Turtles, things of that nature. So we went, did this very awkward and, I guess, reading, which basically we felt like we didn't get the job. But what ended up happening was, or get the parts, but what ended up happening was when it was time for us to leave, it was around lunchtime, and one of the main VIPs of the company joined us coming downstairs. And when we came downstairs out on the street, we pretty much got mobbed, by people on the street because they were familiar with us with our music videos and our music. And that's what sold him, And what's interesting that a lot of people might not know, we've told it before, is that originally New Line Cinema, not Reggie and Warrington, New Line Cinema wanted Will Smith and Jazzy Jeff to do House Party. But wow. Will and them didn't want to work with them because at that same time, New Line Cinema was suing them for a record they did called Nightmare on My Street. So Will and them's mind was like, why are we going to do a movie with you guys and you guys have us in court trying to sue us? And at the same time, Reggie and Warrington wasn't feeling Will and them anyway. They really wanted us because it was more tailor-made for us. So that's a little bit of backstory, interesting backstory to things. And, I think everybody was happy,
Wow. And, of course, like you said, the rest is history, man. The House Party movies, the legends, Full Force, of course, Martin Lawrence. A lot of great icons were in that movie.
Well,
that movie.
Yeah, that's the blessing. You have Queen Latifah, you have TLC, you have Chris Tucker, you have Robin Harris. Of course, you said Martin. You have Tisha Campbell. The list just goes on and on and on of the cameos and the appearances in those movies. And I think that does me more proud than anything else in regards to not only being able to bear witness to the launching of these careers, but also to be able to contribute to them. And that legacy, as far as I'm concerned, still holds true. Like today, I've invested a lot of my influence and other resources in news, where I feel hip-hop needs to be responsible now and really present news the way it should be. So I've created this thing called Brand News with a Z at the end of news, where I'm introducing a lot of upcoming talent in regards to journalists, in regards to reporters who are, present news in a very positive, exciting way, but with the foundation being hip-hop. As a matter of fact, the motto of Brand News is where hip-hop has a new direction. But back then, that's something that just stayed with me, was like, wow, look what God used me to be able to participate in. And that's, I love it. It's real big. And, if that's going to be on the headstone, I'm good with that,
Right, no doubt. Now, you've transitioned yourself, so to speak, and began as a hip-hop teacher at North Carolina Central University.
Yeah, I've been teaching for well over 10 years now. I need to start really saying 15. It started with me being part of the Miles College family in Birmingham, Alabama, and then from there, I've done stuff with high schools and stuff as well. I've spoken at so many colleges as far as lecturing, but I guess I've had like close to a 5-year relationship with North Carolina Central University, and from there at Florida A&M University, and now still working with them. I'm producing an official documentary about the Marching 100 now, but now I'm going to start working with Delaware State University as well. So, yeah, just hip-hop has grown to the point where it's more to us than the music. People really need to understand why it began. Matter of fact, the name of the course that I've developed is called Content of a Culture, the Reason, the Rhythm, and the Rhyme, and just dealing with the spirituality of it, the music of it, of course, the backstories behind a lot of the hits or some of the game changes that took place in the culture that's just become one heck of an influence globally today, Yeah,
definitely. So now, as far as Kid and Play, now are you guys continuously touring, or are you just doing, dates here and there?
We pick dates as we choose. We both have lives. Kid is doing comedy, stand-up, and things of that nature. He chose to sell out on us and relocate to West Coast, so he's that West Coast cat, and I still hold it down for the East Coast. We're in complete harmony. But the thing is that he's doing that, and my thing is this. But, one of the things we enjoy is performing. So when we need to take a break from our other things, we do that, and we do it quite frequently. We had the opportunity and fun of doing a cameo on this the DVD house party that just came out called Oh, What a Night. One of the leads is the young cat who played the little brother in Everybody Hates Chris on the Chris Rock sitcom, and a couple other newcomers on Come Up. So we did a cameo in that. It was a lot of fun. We have shows coming up in a couple of days and some things as far as cameos on some upcoming television shows. So we use that as fun. We've always had made an agreement that regardless of the managers, the agents, and the business and the politics, that we choose to have fun. When it gets to the point where it's not fun anymore, we fall back, wait till people cool out, chill, and then when it's fun again, we're back. So that's what's up,
Definitely. Now, and I know you guys, when you first started out and got going and got really heavy into your career, what were some of the great things that you guys might have participated in or saw when you were on tour with other hip-hop artists?
Well, what a lot of people don't know is our contribution to NWA. Just cutting to an edited version. At first, I didn't want to do that tour because I wasn't ready or didn't think it was going to be one heck of a culture change. Me being familiar with the group prior to anybody really knowing about them globally, spending the time I was spending out in L.A., I had a chance to hear about them, before they really, really took off. And at the same time, I was tired. We were just coming off our umpteenth tour for the umpteenth time, and they had already approached us about doing this tour with Public Enemy, NWA. I forgot who else was on the bill. It might have been Digital Underground on a few dates and Too Short on a few dates. But basically, because of where I was at emotionally, you don't ask anybody, are you ready to work when you're just coming off of a hard day's work? So I was like, no. But to make a long story short, they pitched this idea. I was like, no, not feeling it. But I wanted to be fair. So without getting into too many details for the sake of time, I'll do that in another interview. I said, well, okay, if you do this, I'll do this tour. And I thought I had the up on them because I knew what I was telling them to do couldn't be done. But I was wrong. They did get it done. So I always want to be a person of my word and agreed to it. But the political thing that happened was they needed Kid and Play to be on that tour for the promoters to get the okay with the building and the insurance, because they didn't want to give the insurance because they thought that because of the content that NWA and others would bring, it was going to create hostility and violence. But they need to balance it by putting other artists on there that was going to help cool it out, and we were that. So we literally was able to get NWA to do their very first national tour, and it was just great to witness that because that was the first tour they ever did. And when you hear Dr. Dre speak of it in a couple of documentaries, he speaks about how it was amazing he'd never in his life seen that many people, react to their music and stuff at that time. And I had the opportunity to witness that, Kid and I, and we were great friends. We'd clown around, prank each other, all of that stuff. So some of that image that people bought into, wasn't 100% them. These guys was real cool guys, Ren, Easy. I have pictures with me and Easy, and that I hold priceless because, of the unfortunate death. But,
right.
We all were friends, and we had a good time. It was just great. It's like a kid on Christmas seeing them open a present, to be able to see someone, be out for the first time experiencing that kind of experience, before crowds,
Wow, that's a great experience to share, man. And I definitely, thank you for that, because that's one of the things that, we like to, inform the fans on. I mean, we always, know that you guys, got great music and you do a lot of things, but you kind of sometimes don't hear the backstories of, what possibly could have took place while you were on tour or while, just throughout the career. And it's great to hear that because, a lot of people.
I have stories for days. I have stories with Tupac, all kinds of stories, and pictures and videos and all of that kind of stuff, So, yeah.
Now, I know you said you were, putting a documentary together. Would you ever consider putting a documentary together with everything that you've, been through and all the footage that you have, different things?
Well, if I get a chance in this life to get it all done that's in this mind of mine that I call an amusement park, they might not all be in the same one, but if you pull them all together in a marathon back to back to back, you pretty much have that. With the Anti-Dance, there'd be, footage from that. I've been wanting to work, I don't have the discipline to do a book on my life, but I wanted to do something called a biomentary, which is a hybrid of a biography and a documentary, and, about my journey. So if I ever get that done, it would definitely be in there. But, to be able to see the stuff that I put together over a period of time, looking back over my life, the years, you would see, nice quality historic portions of it, Yeah.
Definitely, man. And that's, just, you got an amazing story. That's definitely, for sure. And, I would be, I'll be first in line to cop that, man, to see that documentary because, I just love to hear, about, how you guys vibed and got along pretty much. What a lot of people might think, you might have had beef with this person or that person, but to actually hear, like you said, you went on tour with, you were on tour with same bill with people from the West Coast, pretty much.
Yeah, it was, that's the kind of thing. Great friends of mine always will be Chuck D and the members of Public Enemy. Got a funny story about the time everybody knows about SW1s, and there was a time where we put on the SW1's uniform, and we went out on stage and did the moves as the SW1, and they were in on it. They gave us uniforms to do it, and we did the whole entire show, with the salute, with standing the way they stood, where people had to really watch, because what would give it away was Kid with that high top fade, but he still tried to put the hat on top of it anyway. And then there was a time we got arrested because it was a thing in our show where we would emulate sexual moves in this one particular part of our show, so we did that. I think it was in Macon, Georgia or something, so we got arrested for that one time. Same place where Bobby Brown got arrested for simulating stuff. So it's like, it's all kinds of, it was because you're dealing with a group of people, and like I said earlier, God used hip-hop to save my life, to get me out of a community. And not saying that my community was bad, because it wasn't. It was all based on choices I was making and individuals I choose to idolize. But to get me out of the neighborhood, to realize there was more to life than what I knew. There was more outside of past the boundaries of New York or Jersey or Philly. There was more to it that introduced me to more. And that was what all of us was going through. NWA, Tupac, Heavy D and the Boys, Salt and Pepper, all of us. Us and Salt and Pepper shared our buses, so we would just definitely, really brothers and sisters, So it was us just experiencing others and other cultures and other ways of life and all of that stuff, from Texas to down south to into Japan, London, all of that stuff. It was just beautiful. It's just beautiful situation.
Wow. Man, it's great to hear. Now, one other question I did want to ask, would you guys consider, or is something in the works for another house party movie, like a reunion?
They're always talking about it. Like right now they're talking about a series, or television, a sitcom and stuff like that. One of the things Kid and I have discussed, we don't want to betray people who have supported us. I don't like the word fans. I call fans friends. And we don't want to do anything just for the dollar. We don't want to do anything just to be doing it. We want it to have the same effect or even better than what House Party has meant to many people. So if that's done right, then we're cool. And then there's other things that are being discussed and talked about. But, we're at a place right now where we're enjoying our children, and I'm a grandfather, and, all of that. And I'd rather take those energies, like I said, even with brandnews, .com, news is with a Z at the end, and even working with this comedy sitcom that you can find online called FAIL, FAIL, which is a comedy series, webisode series about 6 college students for the first year in college and what they're going through. So you can go to failshow.com. But people invested in us, like we did with a Martin, with Tisha Campbell, with the TLC, God bless Lisa Left Eye Lopez and all the rest, to be able to invest, pay it forward, put other people on. I'm not comfortable with everything being about me. Regardless of our movie saying starring Kid and Play, I always considered ourselves as being part of an ensemble, and that's what works. And if it isn't broke, don't fix it. So it just has to be right. It just has to be right.
Definitely. Now, the brand news, that's your baby.
Yeah,
and
pretty much.
If you would definitely, tell the fan friends the website where they can, check that out. And, definitely we're going to, upload it to, Mike Check Media's page as well, so we can get, more people on board.
Well, for most people who ask, what's the Facebook, what's the Twitter, what's the Instagram, you go to brandnews.com and all those connections right there on the homepage, and it's Brand News, BRANDNEWZ.com, and we're always constantly looking for journalists and reporters and people, to submit. And, I'm interested in making stars. I'm interested in making successful careers. So, again, it's brandnews.com. with a Z at the end of news, and anything you want to know in regards to the Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of that stuff, all of those links are on the homepage for those connections to be made as well.
Hey, man, no doubt. Definitely, on behalf of myself and Carolyn and Mike Check Media, we'd like to express our thanks for you taking time out to, talk with us on this platform and, just with us paying homage to pioneers of hip-hop.
Well, thanks for the invite. I love hip-hop. Like I said, God used it to save my life. Thank you, Carol, and yourself, and, what you're doing, and because it's very important, but it's all part of the system. It's all part of a cycle, and we need to not so much bring it back, because by bringing it back, that's not growth. You don't want to go back, but you want to take what you know from what back then and make things better. So when people ask me how I feel about hip-hop today, and they've asked me, did I agree with Nas that hip-hop is dead, I wouldn't say it's dead, but it's on life support. It's like right now, when it was at a certain pace, there was diversity, and I think the diversity needs to, I don't think it does, it just needs to come back. It needs for radio people in that power to do better with their programming in regards to diversity, because you have some people out there that are saying some good things. I do understand the parties. I do understand, human nature, but there's other parts to it than the part that just seems to be consistently put out there. And I really, we got to do better and our sisters need to do better, so.
Definitely. You heard it first from the man himself, brother P-L-A-Y, Kid and Play, the legend himself. I am your man, K Boogie, signing off for Mic Check Media. Peace.